Welcome to the Village New Member Orientation. We're going to cover our four main parts of Village. First of all, welcome to Village. Thank you for joining. And there's just a few things that we want to cover as new members so that you feel prepared to be a part and engaged in the Village community you just joined. So we're going to go over the emails that are associated with your Village. We're going to talk about check-ins in particular. And then we're going to cover the details of the gathering program. And then really quickly, we'll talk about roles and engagements, which are things that you can do as you get more involved with Village. So let's go ahead and get started.
Yep. So when you join Village as a member, you'll get three different kinds of emails. The fourth one being optional. The first one that you'll get for sure is an invitation email, and that usually comes out on Sunday or Monday, depending on whose role it is to do that week. And you'll read it, and you'll see a photo or a theme, a prompt, and you're invited to check in to answer that prompt, or just check in and just say how you're doing and what you're up to. And then optional, sometimes a reminder does go out, and that's usually the day of the gathering. And I forgot you're in Boise, so there might be different days in terms of how you get emails. This is I was mentioning talking to Village Seattle,
Right.
but yeah, you'll get an invitation a couple of days for the gathering, and maybe a reminder the day of. And then for sure you'll get a bulletin, which is always an hour before the gathering starts, and that will feature all the RSVP. So if people answered the prompt, then you'll see their responses in that email. And then after the gathering, you'll get a summary, which includes the group photo and just other engagements of what's might be going on after around the gathering afterwards, and when the next gathering will be. So yeah, the invitation bulletin and reminder emails is what you really want to focus on.
Okay. And then I guess for Boise purposes, the invitation goes out about a week before the gathering, and we have a few reminders, pretty standard. And then the bulletin also includes announcements if members want to share announcements, they're in there. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about check-ins. Checking in is the purpose of checking in is to help organize our Village. So we always have a few people who are at the center of the Village, really kind of helping hold the space and show up all the time. And we like to support them and help them. So checking in helps this process so that we know who's going to be there. And it also helps organize roles, which we'll talk about in a bit. So you can check in by looking at the top of your Village email, and there is a button that says check in. So you can check in anytime you want, but the best time to check in is after you've seen that invitation email. So the invitation email will have the prompt in it usually, so you can note the prompt and think about how you want to respond. And then in that email, you can click check in. And then the check in will compose of mostly you're just choosing the gathering. So you're choosing which date you're checking into, you're choosing your name, and you're choosing your role. So those are the three things that you're choosing, and that is helping us organize our Village. And then optionally, and the role you're going to choose is typically attendee. So you can choose attendee. You can also choose non-attendee. If you're not going to be there, you still can check in and you can still offer announcements and you can still respond to the prompt. And you check in as non-attendee so that we know that you're not going to be there. So attendee or non-attendee. And then if you do choose to take roles and you're involved in taking roles, you will choose those roles using the check-in form as well. And then optionally, you can add to your check-in a photo and an update. So you can update us anything. You can say what's happening in your life, what's coming up, what you're excited about. You can share a photo of something that's going on in your life. And you can also respond to the prompt that's in the invitation email. Whatever you put in your check-in is going to be added to the bulletin email. So that's just your contribution to the community. Whatever you share is going to be shared with the community. And then you can also add announcements. And you can include links in those announcements if you'd like to link to things that your podcasts or GoFundMe's or whatever can be in there. And then we'll talk about engagements later, but if you're leading an engagement, you also add that to your check-in so that it's included in the emails. And then you just click submit at the bottom, and that's it. That's how you do a check-in. Okay.
So when you attend a village, we will go through the gathering program, and every village gathering, it's all different. Each one is different, and we don't really have an agenda, but we do have a format that we follow. It's a simple structure that we've developed over time, and we realize that it's the best way to have the most emergence and the most way of connecting with each other. And so these are the main program components. Um, so we have the community connections, which is the one-on-one session. So you'll be paired up with one other person and get to talk on a prompt for 5 minutes. And the prompt is offered usually by the host or the facilitator of that gathering. And we have 3 rounds of those community connections. So you get to meet at least 3 people in the first, 20 minutes of the program. And then next, we like to do grounding, which is officially starts our program. We like to get everybody in the same embodied shared space, even though it's virtual or in person. The grounding is always. I guess it's well, the community connections. I should back up. The community connections, we start with one when at the beginning, and then we do a grounding to get everybody centered into their bodies and connected to their breath. And then we have 2 more community connections, uh, and then we also do acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is usually a time moment where we, depending on who is taking the role, they can speak to an issue or a cause that's meaningful for them, or something that's pertinent, during the time, perhaps an issue or event that's on the news. It could be anything. And finally, the second half of our gathering is dedicated to the open space conversations, which usually last anywhere but between 25 to 30 minutes. And that's a chance for anybody and any participant to offer a topic or a theme or a question in which the rest of us will collate around. And if you offer a topic, generally we ask that you facilitate that discussion. So it's an opportunity to have deeper small group conversation on a topic. And so those are the 4 main components. And other components, I guess it's always like adding to the beginning. So really, before we start everything else, we always welcome visitors. So that's at the very beginning, above everything else. And at the very end, we end with announcements. So everybody has an opportunity to share a activity they might be hosting, or if they want to invite others to a social event that they'd be interested in attending. That's there for them.
Okay, so that was the main part of the orientation, is just that you know what emails you're going to get, you know how to check in, and you know what to expect at the gathering. So I'll just briefly cover roles and engagements so that you're ready for this. And when you're ready and you want to get more involved, we'll help you get more involved with these things. But just noting that we have a lot of different roles that are filled by members in order to make our gatherings possible. So we have program roles, which are very obvious. Those are folks that are facilitating the gatherings, leading the groundings, the acknowledgements. If you're virtual, we have a Zoom tech. We also have gathering roles, which are more behind the scenes roles. We have an announcer who sends the invitation email out. We have a reporter who takes notes and sends the summary email out. And then we have a gathering admin who thinks about what the theme is going to be and coordinates who's taking roles at that gathering. And then we have village roles. And so these are roles that are held between gatherings indefinitely. And they include engagement leaders. So anybody can lead an engagement, which is an activity that happens between gatherings. And as that, you're taking a role for your village. It also can be a recruiter, anybody who invites a person to attend village. Anybody can invite somebody in to join one of the gatherings. That makes you a recruiter. And we follow up with our visitors to see if they want to become members, and we get them to attend a new member orientation. And so as a recruiter, we ask your help with that. And then we have a retention administrator and a role administrator to think about who is not at gatherings, how do we get more people engaged, and then how do we prepare and train people for roles. So those are all the roles.
Yes, so one thing to know about village is that it takes a village to run a village, so hence all the roles. So it's really a co-created gathering, and so if you're interested in taking a role, we do offer role trainings, and that's at Village Core, which has been yeah, we were figuring out which day we've been figuring out some more consistency with that. But the gist is that you can contact Jason and me to get role training on a role. And once you get trained, you could we could put you on the schedule. Depending on what village you're in, you could also check to see when the next gathering is. And it's good. It's helpful to have it planned in advance so we could add your name to the email, the invitation email, so they know who's doing what role. And we do like to have role rotations such that all members get to partake in contributing to the space and the energy, and different voices are heard. So yeah, so anything else you wanted to add to that?
Maybe just note that email, the role
All
claim.
right. Yeah, so you do, whether you can, well, in Village Seattle, or I'm not sure about other villages, but there is a calendar you could add your name to. And then, or if you're on a list of perhaps you would just want to be, signed up for a role and you're open to any date, then you can be selected. But whether you're selected or you sign up, you'll get a roles email a couple days before the gathering. And so the bottom box shows that. And if you get this email, you can just click claim role, and then you'll be taken to a quick check-in form, which is much more condensed than the one Jason was sharing earlier. And that's just one click, and then you're claiming that role. And if you don't want to, you could respond to the email and say you're not available.
Okay, that concludes our new member orientation. So thank you so much for joining Village, being a part of our community, and we invite you to be involved at a level that feels right for you. Just showing up is a huge amount, so we always just appreciate folks showing up, and then if it feels right to get more involved, that's how our Village operates. So we invite that in. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording.